Browns have made a couple of signings over the last 12 hours or so, including a decently recognizable name in defensive tackle Quinton Jefferson. So we'll start the show off by getting to know Jefferson, and then we'll get to see the other signings they made, and I'll give you my analysis along the way. But first off, let's talk about the former fifth-round pick out of Maryland by the Seattle Seahawks, where he started his career off, played a handful of seasons there, then he started to live out of a suitcase, as I like to say, and bounced around the league. But he does come off arguably the best season of his NFL career. He had a career-high 6 sacks last year with the Jets, despite playing the lowest amount of snap percentage in his NFL career. So talk about great bang for your buck if you're a Jets fan. Now, he did suffer I believe, season-ending injury in December last year, a hip injury. So that could be a reason why he has sort of slipped to the second/third wave of free agency. He's going to turn 31 years old on March 31st, but I don't think Andrew Berry is ageist against defensive tackles. He's bringing back Shelby Harris. He has had no problem going with more experienced players at that position and not looking for just young guys at that spot. But like I said, he comes off a 6-sack season with the Jets in 14 games, despite being a rotational piece of that defense. Not like he started every single game for New York. Before that, he returned to Seattle for a year, 5.5 sacks. Before that, he was in Las Vegas, 4.5 sacks. And before that, he was in Buffalo. So he is on to his 5th straight team in as many years. Now, PFF graded him out not too favorably last season. They ranked him 92nd out of 130, and you know how PFF works. If it fits your narrative, it's great. If it doesn't fit your narrative, you say, what the hell does PFF know? But his run defense grade is jarringly low, but his pass rush grade is probably what caught Andrew Berry's attention. My guess is after signing Dalvin Tomlinson last year and bringing back Maurice Hurst and Shelby Harris and Siaki Ika in the draft, he may feel like we've got enough good run stoppers. Now let's try and go find some pass rushers from the interior of the defensive line. So if I have a situation where it's 3rd and long, and I want to get Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, Okoronkwo, and maybe Quinton Jefferson to have 4 true pass rushers on the field at once, we can do that. So all in all, I like this signing. I haven't seen the full contract details. My guess is it'll be a 1-year, $3.5 to $5-ish million deal, and that's probably on the high end. I like the move all around. The Browns add some more depth at that position. Now, I know that a lot of you were hoping the Browns, and myself included, would sign the former Bengals defensive tackle, DJ Reader. He's definitely not going back to Cincinnati after the Bengals signed Sheldon Rankins to a 2-year, $26 million contract. My suspicion is a guy that tore his quad in December, teams probably wanted to bring him in for a visit. And this may be one of those instances where we look back and go, oh, so that's why nobody signed him, right? He wasn't going to be ready towards the start of the season. Maybe the rehab isn't going super duper well. That's just me speculating here. But I love DJ Reader as a player. I think he's one of the best interior run-stopping DTs in this game. So I would have been very much on board with the DJ Reader signing. But if the Browns want to go pass rush because that's just the way this game is going and they feel like Dalvin Tomlinson, Maurice Hurst. I mean, we'll look at the depth chart right now. If they feel like other guys are adequate at stopping the run and they wanted to add a little bit more flair to the pass rush, who are we to say no, right? And there's also the whole, NFL draft to add a little bit more of meat and potatoes on the inside of that defensive line. Now, just to look at the entire defense in general, here's how the linebacker room shakes out. Of course, this is all subject to change with more free agent signings potentially, and then of course, the NFL draft. But if they had to play a game tomorrow, I think this would be your starting defense. JOK, Jordan Hicks, Tony Fields. Not so confident about the linebackers at the moment. I'd like to see them address that earlier in the draft with a guy like Edgerrin Cooper out of A&M. Secondary, it looks the exact same, and I don't expect a change here. Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, Grant Delpit, Juan Thornhill. I know a lot of people have been begging for the Browns to add another safety. And listen, under Jim Schwartz, they did run a lot of 3 safety looks last year. But are you guys just going to pretend like Ronnie Hickman and DeAnthony Bell didn't play lights-out football last year, filling in for Delpit and Thornhill? I understand in free agency it's more fun when your teams sign a player than they don't sign a player. But also I do think there should be some level of understanding of, hey, if you hit on a couple of UDFAs like Ronnie Hickman and DeAnthony Bell, maybe you take those good players and keep the roles they're in and not spend 3 times what they're making in free agency just because you want to go get a more proven player. At some point, you do have to have some level of a farm system of we hit on some of our draft picks, we hit on some of our UDFA signings, and if they play well, we're going to reward them by giving them the opportunity to continue to get playing time. Not just tell every single guy in this locker room, hey, I know you played well last year, but the fan base wants us to go sign a veteran player on a 1-year deal. So that's what we're going to do. But let me know, what is missing from the Browns defense? Is it another run-stopping DT? Is it a linebacker? Do you feel like they could get another edge rusher? Because I'm not seeing a ton of confidence in Siaka Ika, and I'll toss in Isaiah McGuire as well. Rookies last year, basically redshirted the season, didn't see them at all. But it does make you wonder, do they not look good in practice, and that's why they are signing so many of these guys at the same position? Just some food for thought. Now, my guess is a lot of you probably said linebacker. So I've got some good-ish news. They are hosting former first-round pick by the Pittsburgh Steelers, Devin Bush. He sucks. So that's kind of the catch-22. You want a linebacker. I don't know if this is the linebacker you want. He was a good tackler early on in Pittsburgh, but the issue is he never developed into an off-ball playmaker linebacker. And when you go 10th overall, that's sort of the expectation, right? You can see his last year in Pittsburgh, 2022. I mean, no sacks, no forced fumbles, no interceptions. He just never really impacted the game. And at this point, I think he's probably best suited in special teams, and I don't think he wants to be in that type of role. So they are bringing Devin Bush in for a workout, visiting the team and whatnot. We'll see if a signing happens. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Don't look at it as a guaranteed thing. If they do sign him, you know we'll have a video going out, which is why you got to be subscribed to the channel. Now, another signing the Browns had earlier this morning, cornerback Tony Brown. I actually found out about this signing because of an email from a subscriber at like 5 a.m. saying, "You see the Browns sign Tony Brown?" I was like, "No, I just woke up, but thank you for breaking the news to me." So Tony Brown is going to come over and replace Mike Ford. He's going to be the special teamer on this team. He's got some experience. He's hopped around the league a little bit with the Bengals at one point. Most recently with the Colts, if I recall correctly. 61 games played, 5 starts, 75 tackles. This is an A.J. Green, Mike Ford-esque replacement, signed to a 1-year contract. And now we've got our own Tommy DeVito to talk about. It is Giovanni Ricci, the fullback tight end hybrid, 3 years with the Cincinnati Bengals. The Carolina Panthers. 36 games played in his career, just 9 grabs for 102 yards. Cleveland lost Harrison Bryant to the Raiders in free agency. So for now, this is your tight end 3. I fully expect the Browns to go tight end somewhat early in day 3 of the draft and have it be David Njoku, Jordan Akins if he's still on the roster, Ricci, a rookie, and probably a UDFA. Those last 3 guys, Ricci, rookie, UDFA, battling it out for the final tight end spot. I don't think this is any sort of lock to make the roster. But let's kind of recap all of the moves the Browns have made so far in free agency, because some of you guys online are getting really upset the Browns aren't doing more in free agency. I don't know, A, what you expected, and B, how this is underwhelming to you. I mean, they traded for Jerry Jeudy. I know that happened kind of pre-free agency, so our brains separate the two, but let's lump it in because it happened just 2 days beforehand. They brought back Zadarius Smith. They brought back Maurice Hurst. They signed Jordan Hicks. Now, of course, this next one's going to have the fan base split, but they signed Jameis Winston to be the backup quarterback. Naheem Hines, I agree, is an underwhelming running back signing, but he does offer special teams a high upside. He's got experience with Ken Dorsey. So if him and Jerome Ford can get the job done, I'll be pleasantly surprised, but I have my doubts and my concerns. They brought back Michael Dunn. They signed offensive tackle Akeem Adeniji. Then they ran it back with Shelby Harris, Corey Bojorquez, who played great football last year, Quinton Jefferson, Tony Brown, and then now most recently, or I guess not most recently, but earlier last night, we had Giovanni Ricci signed to a 1-year deal. So the Browns have made 13 signings in my book. That's 12 more than the Dallas Cowboys. I think some of you need to maybe lower your muskets a little bit about Andrew Berry's not doing enough in free agency. Guys, they won 11 games last year, and he signed 13 players so far. I know it's more fun, and believe me, as a content creator, it's a lot more fun when the team makes more moves, but I think we can probably just relax a little bit and not overblow the Browns aren't doing anything. They have spent a good chunk of change so far, and historically under Andrew Berry, they don't spend a ton of money in free agency, and they did last year. And usually there's a on-off pattern in free agency. Last year, they addressed a lot of vacant starting roles, right? They brought in Juan Thornhill. You don't need a safety again this year because you signed one last year. They needed an edge rusher. They signed Okoronkwo. They don't need one this year, but they did anyway because they signed Zadarius Smith. So, understand that for all 32 teams, there is usually a period of, we'll be big spenders this year, and then next year, we're not going to be as big spenders because we signed a lot of our needs from last year. So, I think the Browns have done a very solid job so far in free agency. How would you grade them, though? A, B, C, D, or F? For me, I'd give them a B grade, right? And I don't think they made that unreal signing that just completely transcends this team because I don't think they were one of those pieces away, right? What do the Browns need to do to improve in 2024? It's get Deshaun Watson healthy and consistent. You cannot accomplish that in free agency. That is the biggest need for the Browns, is get the quarterback play at a consistent and healthy level. Now, they had other bolts to tighten and whatnot, and they did that. But if you were hoping that signing $150 million worth of contracts was going to make Deshaun Watson consistent or healthy, I'm sorry, you are mistaken, and you're just kind of flushing money down the toilet. So for that reason, I give him a B grade. All right, that's going to do it for us on this morning's edition of the Cleveland Browns Report. I've got a good gut feeling. I'll be talking to you guys later in the afternoon if they sign Devin Bush. So with that, we pick a card. Mr. Cullen Brown, which card would you like to go with?
I'm going to go 3 clubs.
Shout out to Cullen. He's now been in Chat Sports for almost a little over 2 months here, and he came in bright and early with me this morning to get this video done. I'm going to go with the 3 of spades. What'd you say? I forgot already.
Clubs.
3 of clubs? We were close. 2 of diamonds. 2 of diamonds. All right, that's going to do it for us. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll probably see you guys later. Go Brownies until then.